Hello again. I had a request recently through the PhatPhish Facebook page for some tutorials on here about using stomp boxes and multi-effects and so on. So this is the first of what hopefully is going to be a series of tutorials about building up your understanding of different effects and the sounds that they can give you. Thought what we'd start with today, because it's a nice general sort of one that'll be of interest, I think, to certainly most rock guitarists and probably a few others besides, is looking at the different types of overdrive and distortion sound that we can get. Okay, now there's the basic sound that we can get from the guitar when there's no effect on it. It's generally what you would call a clean sound. So what I'll do now is so we've got some sort of references, I'll just play something with the basic clean sound of the guitar. Okay, so you can hear that it's just basically a louder version of the guitar when it's not plugged in. Now there's a few things that we can do, different effects we can apply to the guitar to give it what's called a dirtier sound. You can either apply these through like effects pedals, either these clever digital multi-effects units that you can get, or you can also get like amplifiers that will have more than one channel on them. So you might have an amplifier that's got a clean channel and an overdrive channel, or a clean channel and a distorted channel, so on. So we'll start with if you like, the most subtle of the dirty sounds, and that's just a basic overdrive. So you can get overdrive pedals. You might see amplifiers that have what's called a crunch channel. So the crunch channel, it's just starting to break the sound up a little bit. You can either get it on a dedicated crunch channel, or sometimes if you really turn the gain up on the clean channel, it's just overloading the amp a little bit and starting to break the sound up. So have a listen now. This is basically what an overdrive effect sounds like. Okay, so that's overdrive or crunch. What we can do is we can make that effect a little bit more pronounced, a bit stronger. And the next level up is what's called distortion. Here we're starting to break the sound up a bit more. What you should have heard before on the overdrive sound is, there's a bit of break-up, there's a little bit of dirt there, but underneath it all you can still through it all you can still hear some of the clean sound of the guitar. With distortion, a lot of that cleanliness starts to go away, the sound breaks up a bit more, and we have a dirtier sound. So here's a basic sort of distortion effect. Yeah, there's distortion. As with all of these effects, there's various degrees of it, so we could turn the effect up a little bit more, and you can hear a more heavily distorted sound. Lastly, the little set we're going to look at now is what's sometimes called a heavy metal distortion. That's just distortion, but it's kind of taken to the next level. Much more extreme sound. Generally a much dirtier, heavier sound. Okay, now that last one is an important point to pick up, that you might think that, well, I hear more distortion when I listen to like a heavy metal track than I do if I'm listening to, say, like blues or something like that. So you can fall into the trap of thinking that more distortion means more heavy. Now, in a way that's true, but there's more to it than just the degree of distortion that you've got on the effect. The way that you've got the tone, the equalizer, the EQ set has a big impact on the sound as well. If you get like a heavy metal distortion, but you take a lot of the bottom end out of the EQ, it gets just quite trebly. It actually ends up sounding quite thin and not particularly heavy at all. Something like this. Yeah, so you can hear therefore there's an awful lot of distortion. It's not particularly heavy. What we can do though is, with the same sound, I'll just dial the treble back ever so slightly, boost the bass, and what I'll do is, as well, is I'll take a lot of the mid-range out of the mix. So if you think about the EQ curve, looking at it from your side, you've got a lot of bass, not so much in the mid-range frequencies, and then come back up the treble, so like a V sort of EQ curve. So it's called a scooped sound because you scoop in the middle out of it. The guys from Metallica use this kind of setting quite a lot, so quite a heavy distortion, a lot of overdrive on the sound, but with the EQ curve set, and it's really it's the EQ that's bringing the heaviness to this as much as the distortion sound. You get something that sounds like this. Okay, so there's a selection of just different distortion and overdrive sounds. No definitive sounds there, just really something representative to give you the idea of the difference between overdrive and distortion and really heavy metal distortion, and give you a feel for the way that the EQ, the tone curve, has an effect on the sound. So, let your ears guide you. Think about, when you're listening to guitarists that you like, think, well, how, they might have a distorted sound and overdoing sound, but how distorted is it? Is it full distortion, or is it just a bit of overdrive there just to break the sound up? And then think about how you could maybe replicate that yourself, either using your amplifier, dirty channel on the amp, or using stomp boxes or whatever. Last point to mention is what some guitarists will do is actually split the signal out of the guitar and end up with two different sounds. So rather than just having, say, the guitar straight into a distortion pedal or into the amplifier, what they might do is split the signal and then have one half of that that's going through a subtle overdrive, so you've still got a bit of clean sound underneath it all, and then another half of the mix that's going to a more distorted sound. And when you put those two sounds together, you can end up with something that sounds really big and really impressive. And you've got the mixture sort of like of the distorted and the slightly cleaner sound. Again, just let your ears guide you. Just listen and think, well, what am I hearing here? Am I hearing overdrive? Am I hearing distortion? Am I hearing something where the EQ's biased towards the mid-range, or is the mid-range being taken out? And experiment with your own effects. Actively think about dialing in particular tones from the EQ or particular drive settings, and just see what sounds right for you. It's going to vary from guitarist to guitarist. How hard you hit the strings, the types of pickups you've got on the guitar, how they influence the sound. There's so many different factors, but really it's about being aware of the different types of distortion effect, and what sort of sounds you can get with them. Okay, so there's a little bit of food for thought. Hopefully you found that useful, and I'm hoping there'll be a few more tutorials in this series about the different types of effects that we've got at our disposal as guitarists. So play around with distortion and overdrive and so on. Have fun, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.